This is Live Life Well with Dr. Jennifer Baker.
Yes.
And we're here on a regular basis. And
We are.
about a year ago, we talked about this book that came out, and we talked about the impact of phones and social media on teens and preteens. And since then, we've seen a lot of changes in the past year. We've seen schools say that we're going to have bell-to-bell, no phone zones.
Right.
And this includes Missouri and Arkansas, Springfield School District among them, saying no phones during the school year. So I want to ask you, because you're the one who brought this book to my attention, and you've been looking at a really anxious generation, I'll say.
Right.
What's the theory on the benefit of not having phones during the school day? So we'll review and not assume that people saw this when we had a broader discussion about phones a year ago.
Well, I think one of the things is that when they're constantly on social media, we're not talking about access to the internet. We're talking about, because that can be helpful on some things. But with social media, you're constantly comparing yourself to someone else. The algorithms are set to keep you kind of addicted to what's going on. So at the very baseline, it's the ability to concentrate. So if we want our students to concentrate on something that, you know, not everybody finds biology or chemistry or geography all that interesting initially. But if we want them to concentrate on something that might be difficult, we have to remove the distractions. So removing phones, first and foremost, removes distractions from learning, and students now have to take notes. They have to concentrate, or at least they have the opportunity to do that because they're sitting there without something in their hands they can scroll on. So that would be one thing.
One thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But another thing is, and I think he alludes to this in The Anxious Generation, is that whole social interaction. Because when students are on their phones, certainly employers are noticing this, that those digital natives have been on their phones so much of the time, it's hard for them to have a face-to-face interaction conversation with someone else, with eye contact. You see that more and more than was once the case because you had to interact with other people in school.
So when you talked about comparing, I had a kind of a flashback to college psychology.
Yes.
Forgive me if I'm mangling or mixing the things. You were talking about comparing yourself to someone else. And I was loosely thinking about the theory, and I don't remember the name of it. But let's say I have a beer. I have a beer, and it's really tasty.
Right.
And it's that first beer is really good. But then if I have the second, it's not quite as good. And the third, and I don't remember the name of that, but it feels like if you're constantly comparing yourself, and this is where I'm thinking maybe I'm mangling the psychology class that I had just last year.
Well, and you might be mixing some theories in there, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you understand where I'm going? You're comparing yourself, and there's this thing that you have to achieve, but you're never going to quite get there. And if you do get there, it's only good for a limited amount of time.
Right.
So I'm mixing kind of some theories here, and the professor from years ago would be like, oh, I should have taught him better. But help me on the course. The right course.
So there is the whole fear of missing out when you see somebody else. So, you know, I'm not, let's go to the beer theory.
Okay.
I'm not, you're having a beer and oh, it looks so good. And I'm not having a beer and I'm having Coke. But that looks so good. And looks like you're having a lot more fun than I'm having. So now this experience that I'm having, which might be quite satisfactory apart from observing your experience, now I'm suddenly feeling like what I'm having is not as good as what you're having. Or let's say, and then I think what you're saying is like, you really seem to be having a great time with your beer, but my beer's not as good. I don't seem to be having the same experience that you're having, so what's wrong with me? Maybe there's something wrong with me. My friends aren't as cool or good as your friends, so maybe it's the context in which I'm having. It's that whole constant comparison to what you see on social media, which of course we don't see the whole picture. We just see a tiny little part of what's going on.
Right.
And then comparing to yourself, plus the fact that algorithms are set up so that they want you to keep scrolling, so it's not just like you see it once and like, oh yeah, that's, that's what that is. But you want to see the next one and you want to see the next one, and that can really be a problem.
So if we take the phones out of the schools, there's at least a 6, 7, 8 hour period where the FOMO part maybe doesn't exist as much, or
well, at least you get a reduced from that. So you're not, you're not looking at your phone, seeing what's going on in another class with your friend, or if people are liking whatever it is you posted or whatever, you're not seeing that. But there are some challenges, and one of the challenges would be implementation. Like anything, you can make a law, but now let's say you have 25 high school students sitting there, or middle school students, and one of them takes out the phone. Now the teacher is supposed to do something with that phone.
Right.
But what if the person next to them takes out a phone? And then what if the person, and what are they supposed to do with the phone? Are they supposed to immediately take that phone to the office? Well, if they take that phone to the office, then what happens to the student sitting there? So I am supportive of removing phones from the classroom. I'm just saying that implementation can be a bit tricky.
So there may be some hiccups along the way to achieving what people want to achieve. And last I looked, it was 37 states that have done this. And
wow,
it's
it's amazing.
Really grown since that book came out.
Half this year. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Half this year passed legislation. When you think about the impact of one man's work on school systems around the country, that's pretty amazing.
And it's really gone around the world,
yes,
too,
it has.
not just in the country. Do you think, you were talking about face-to-face, being able to have that, do you think forcing students not to be face-to-phone but face-to-face during the school day, that's going to help?
Well, nobody's going to like that at first. No, nobody's going to be like, yay!
Okay.
But I think that in time, people will maybe get a different feel. We have to get used to it. It's like doing exercise. Most people don't enjoy it right at first, but once they get accustomed to it, then they might like it a lot better. So I would predict the first weeks of school are going to be kind of rocky, awkward. Everybody's, how do I enforce this? Oh, now I've got to come and get my kid's phone back. In some schools, that's the case. But I work, I'm told the time, is the school going to stay open later so I can go get my kid's phone back? And how do I tell my kid that he needs to go home with so-and-so and not with me? And, parents have grown accustomed to communicating in the, in the dark ages when I went to school, and I don't know, how dark it was when you went to school, but your parents called the school office and then a note was brought to the classroom.
Yes.
So, but they had people who worked in the office for that reason. I just think the implementation may be a bit rocky. I don't think we should give up on it, but like anything, it takes time to work out all the wrinkles.
The first couple of months, maybe.
Yeah.
We talked, when we talked previously about cyberbullying and how it's such a big problem because of social media and the availability of it, and the young brains that are still developing, and kind of the barriers aren't in place yet to say this isn't the best behavior. So will this help with cyberbullying, or will there be more like bullying in person, or does anybody really know? We're going to have to study that.
I don't know if anybody really knows. I mean, in the past, when you were bullied in person, and of course that may still take place in some situations, when you went home, you at least weren't faced with that. You had the memory of that, but you didn't have to be thinking about it. Now, for kids who are being bullied online, that can be a constant thing. And that, we're not taking away the phones for all time. We're just taking away the phone for the school day. Although I do recommend to parents that they put the phones in the phone garage at a particular time.
At night.
At night, yeah.
So maybe they can have them after school up to a
Right.
certain point, and then we don't
Right.
need them up to, 1 in the morning on the phone trying to make up for lost time, if you
Right.
will.
Well, and I've even observed, several years ago, my daughter was having a birthday party for one of her daughters. And when the guests showed up, because, I think the girls were like 12, so this was probably 6 years ago, she put out the basket and said, put your phones in the basket. Now, you're at a party. You're at a party where you're going to have games, you're going to have activities, you're going to have food. Why would you need to be on your phone? I would have never needed that. We were at the party.
Right.
But so she collected all their phones, and then she had to continually monitor that because people were sneaking back to the basket to get their phone out.
Oh, so they couldn't quite even stay away.
It was hard for them to get it, and that's when that becomes a habit, that thing in your pocket or that thing in your hand, it doesn't go easily with some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked in the past about the anxious generation.
Yes.
And having the ability to meet obstacles that some of us just met. And now these are considered major hurdles, and that's kind of where we talked about this anxious generation. Do you
Right.
think in any way the phones not being in the classroom might help them meet some of those challenges? Have resilience is the word we've used.
Resilience, I think not being
past.
able to get what you want when you want it. Certainly that's an important part of self-control that all adults need to develop, so that would be there. Haidt also talks about how he believes that phones have taken away from us that ability to experience awe. And so, I've been at the park and seen people face deep in their phone in a beautiful park, but just think about the first time you were in biology and looked through a microscope and got to look at cells under a microscope, or something else that was really amazing. It was the first time you did a dissection in a biology class or something. Well, the problem is when you're constantly on your phone, you can miss out on those awe-filled moments like, wow, or that's really cool. And those are all things that help bring down that sense of awe or like, wow, help bring down our anxiety. Social connection helps bring down our anxiety. Like, I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, we're looking at each other. That helps bring down those anxious feelings, whereas when you're on social media, it is designed to get you ramped up. It is designed to do that, and people need to realize that.
Yeah.
There is an addictive quality to that drug that people say, oh, not me, not me. And I'm like, well, when you start scrolling, how easily do you put it down?
Yeah. It can hook you in.
It is designed to hook you in. And once you start looking at something, then it will show you more things like that because they know that you like those sorts of things.
So this is an area rich for study.
Right.
And I'm sure the studies with the schools are beginning
Yes.
now, like
Now.
probably as the bell rings,
Right,
the
right.
studies are going to get started. And we may not know the results for a couple of years. So I'm going to ask you to put on
Oh, wow.
peer into the future here. So we're a year from now. Are there lessons we can learn just a year from now, things we can observe, maybe about this is the best way to implement, or this is what we're finding changes in behavior? What do you think a year from now we're going to be talking about when it comes to phones in schools?
Well, I think in implementation, there's always some unintended consequences. So we're going to find out some things that like, oh, I wish I would have thought about that. Oh, that never occurred to me, or we're going to have to address that. So that's going to happen. But I also hope that we will interview teachers to see what their response is. Like, how difficult was it to implement in your classroom? How much support did you get from administration? When you got pushback, How did you handle that? And was there any overall, a month or two in, did you notice any difference in your students this year over previous years? I mean, and let's just face it, because we've seen this. We've seen parents hand a phone to a fussy child. I'm wondering if being on your phone, maybe you're not cutting up with other kids in the class, but because you're on your phone, well, now we take the phone away, will we have more behavior problems? I'm not suggesting we should use a phone to manage behavior problems.
Right.
I'm just saying, when you don't have that distraction, what will kids be doing?
Well, I mean, in the old days, if you wanted to say something in class, you passed a little wadded up note up the aisle or over, and you just prayed a little prayer that the teacher wouldn't catch you, because it was very embarrassing if the teacher caught you. Not that I ever had that happen. I did. And it was very embarrassing. So, I mean, there are, and we're going to have to watch for those in the next year. And there may be lessons to learn about how do you handle emergencies, or even things we're not thinking of that you won't know until you start school in the next few days.
Yes, and I think it might also be good to have a small group of students who could give you feedback on that. I mean, the boots on the ground. They know, they hear from their friends. And while you might not agree with everything they say, like give us our phones back, well, that's not an option. The state has already ruled on that. That's a state law. But maybe they have some ideas about implementation. I mean, you should at least ask.
Right. Again, the advice for parents is, instead of me filling in the blanks, I should put this in the form of a question. I'll put you on the spot again. I have an idea where you're going with this. You've already mentioned the one about the phone bank at night. But if your child comes to you and says, I can't stand this. This is terrible. School is so bad. I need my phone. As a parent,
I think it's good not to refer to this as a phone ban. I think it's like phone regulation. So, okay, when cars first happened, there were no laws about who could drive and who couldn't drive. But over time, as more people got cars, then we had to put in legislation about how to use cars so that everyone could be safe.
Traffic lights, speed limits.
That's right, and age limits. When you could get your driver's license and what you had to do to get it. I mean, there's probably many a 13, 14-year-old who's driven a tractor but then couldn't get a driver's license. Okay, that back in the day. Okay, that would also be true for serving alcohol, for instance. At one point, there were no laws about how old you had to be or in order to drink, but we didn't ban alcohol. What we did during the, Prohibition. But what we did was put in place legislation that was designed to keep more people safe. And there's, this is what I'm saying. The idea here is not that we're banning. What we're doing is we're putting in legislation, which is in place, which is already in place. There's nothing we can do about that. This is designed to increase learning potential, keep more people safe. Whether we agree with it or not, it is the law, and I think parents should support the school
and
with that
say,
law.
This is the way it is. I hear you. This is very tough. I understand for you. I know you'll adjust.
Right.
Is that a good response?
That's pretty much. I mean, it's like, I've even heard...
I've listened to you a time.
Good for you. I've heard judges say whether or not I agree with the law or not is not that's not the point. The point is I have to enforce the law as it is written. Schools have to do that. And so we need to support the schools. And, I know it's hard, honey. Last year you could just text me, tell me it's time to pick you up for your orthodontist appointment or whatever. But this year it's going to be different, and we're going to have to figure out some different strategies to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Jennifer Baker on this Live Life Well.